Why is female desire still one of the greatest mysteries in psychology? Men write poetry, wage wars, and build empires for it, yet few truly understand it. Carl Jung believed that within every woman lives a hidden archetype, a deep, symbolic force that shapes her longings, her choices, even her shadows. This lecture is not about cheap stereotypes or shallow dating tips. It's about the timeless psychological truth, what women really want, and why it terrifies men to face it. Desire has always been treated as a mystery, especially when it comes to women. Men have written countless books, songs, and poems trying to explain it, but Jung gave us a different lens. He argued that desire is not just about attraction in the physical sense, it is a symbolic language of the psyche. At the heart of this mystery is what he called the anima and the animus. For Jung, every man carries within him an unconscious feminine image, the anima, while every woman carries within her an unconscious masculine figure, the animus. This doesn't just shape personality, it directs the way we love, the people we are drawn to, and the qualities we seek in others. When it comes to women, desire is often misunderstood because we assume it is simple, logical, or fixed. But Jung saw it as a search for wholeness. A woman may not desire a man purely for who he is, but for what he symbolizes in her unconscious. Desire, then, becomes an act of recognition. She is not only attracted to his face or body, but to the archetype he awakens in her. This is why attraction can seem irrational from the outside, why a woman might fall deeply for a man others consider unremarkable. To her, he embodies something her psyche longs for, something hidden and incomplete within her. This is what makes female desire so layered. At one level, it is biological, shaped by instincts and evolution. But on another level, it is mythological, shaped by symbols and archetypes. Jung argued that our unconscious mind is filled with universal figures, heroes, lovers, kings, artists, and women, just like men, are unconsciously drawn to these figures when they appear in human form. A woman might be drawn to a man who carries a sense of strength not because she calculated his physical advantage, but because he awakens an archetype of protection and stability within her. Similarly, she may fall for an artist or philosopher not because of material benefit, but because he carries the archetype of creativity, of vision, of a depth she feels called toward. Take the example of a woman drawn to a musician who struggles financially. From a rational point of view, this may seem impractical. But what she sees is not the instability of his life, it is the fire of creation, the courage to express something authentic. That man becomes more than himself, he becomes a symbol of freedom, passion, and unfiltered expression. Her attraction is not about him as an individual alone but about the mythic force he represents in her unconscious. The anima and animus work like magnets for these deeper patterns. Desire also acts as a bridge between conscious needs and unconscious longings. Women often feel desire for qualities they themselves repress or lack. A woman who has always been told to be polite, quiet, and well-behaved may feel a deep attraction to a rebellious, defiant man. Not because she consciously approves of rebellion, but because he carries the shadow of her own repressed energy. He symbolizes the parts of herself she was never allowed to express. In this sense, female desire reveals more about the woman herself than about the man she desires. Jung insisted that attraction is projection, the psyche casts its missing pieces onto another person, and in doing so, it feels magnetized, pulled toward them. This is also why desire can feel so confusing or even contradictory. A woman might be in a stable relationship with someone dependable, yet feel an unexplainable pull toward someone entirely different, someone who awakens a dormant archetype inside her. It isn't always about wanting to leave one man for another, it's about the psyche's constant search for balance and completion. The rational mind may dismiss these feelings, but the unconscious continues to push them forward through longing, dreams, fantasies, and impulses. Jung compared this dynamic to mythology. In myths, the heroine rarely chooses the safe, predictable partner. Instead, she is drawn to the hero, the mysterious stranger, the dangerous figure who carries the promise of transformation. Desire, then, is not about comfort but about growth. It calls women toward experiences that awaken their inner world, even if those experiences bring chaos or risk. The anima and animus archetypes ensure that desire always carries this deeper symbolic purpose. At its core, female desire cannot be reduced to biology or social rules alone. It is a coded message from the unconscious, a signal of what is missing, what is repressed, and what is waiting to be integrated. When Jung spoke of the anima and animus, he was showing us that attraction is the psyche's way of pointing to the hidden paths of wholeness. Women do not only desire men, they desire the forgotten parts of themselves, reflected in the men who cross their path. This is why female desire remains so elusive. It is not simply about what is seen, but about what is hidden, both in the man and in the woman who longs for him. If the anima and animus explain the symbolic foundation of attraction, then the shadow explains its dangerous and unsettling side. Jung believed that every human being carries a shadow, the hidden, repressed, and often unwanted parts of themselves. These are not always negative in the moral sense, they are simply the qualities we deny, suppress, or cannot admit to ourselves. For women, the shadow plays a powerful role in shaping desire. What a woman consciously rejects, she may unconsciously seek in another. Desire, therefore, is not always about what feels safe, good, or socially approved. It often emerges in the presence of danger, unpredictability, and contradiction, because those qualities awaken the disowned fragments of the self. Consider how many women find themselves magnetically drawn to men who embody rebellion, recklessness, or even destruction. On the surface, these men may seem like the worst possible choice, unreliable, chaotic, or even toxic. Yet Jung would say the attraction is not to the man himself but to what he represents in her psyche. If she has lived a life of obedience, restraint, and order, then her shadow will contain rebellion, freedom, and intensity. When she encounters a man who lives out these qualities openly, her unconscious immediately recognizes the missing piece. Desire becomes a projection of her own shadow, and this explains why attraction often feels irrational, uncontrollable, even dangerous. The shadow is not only about negative traits, it also contains creative, powerful, and passionate energies that were suppressed in childhood or society. A woman taught to be modest may bury her ambition in the shadow. A woman told to be nurturing may hide her desire for independence and adventure. Yet the shadow does not remain silent, it seeks expression. When a man appears who embodies these suppressed qualities, he becomes a mirror of her hidden self. This is why Jung described love and desire as falling into projection. It is not merely a choice, it is the unconscious colliding with the outer world. In myths and stories, the shadow often takes the form of the dangerous lover, the dark stranger, the trickster, or the outlaw. Think of figures like Hades abducting Persephone, or the vampire archetype in Gothic tales, characters who lure women into realms of danger and transformation. These stories reflect a psychological truth. Women are not only drawn to what keeps them safe but also to what awakens the hidden depths of their psyche. The shadow lover is terrifying because he does not fit into the boxes of social approval. But he is magnetic because he embodies what has been suppressed, promising a kind of forbidden wholeness. The shadow also explains why attraction is so often linked with taboo. The more society tells a woman not to desire something, the more likely it is to slip into the shadow, and therefore, the more powerfully it can erupt in desire. For example, in strict cultures where women are expected to conform, desire often takes on a rebellious quality. It seeks danger precisely because danger represents freedom. The man who smokes, drinks, defies authority, or refuses convention becomes the archetype of possibility. He is not desired because of those traits themselves but because they symbolize liberation from repression. Jung also pointed out that the shadow can be both destructive and transformative. A woman who denies her shadow may project it onto destructive partners, repeating cycles of toxic attraction that bring suffering. Yet the same shadow, when acknowledged and integrated, can become a source of strength. The man she desires is not meant to complete her but to reveal the hidden parts of her. Desire becomes a teacher, guiding her toward self-discovery. This is why Jung emphasized the importance of individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating the shadow instead of remaining enslaved to it. In real life, this can be seen in the phenomenon where women look back at past relationships and say, "I don't know why I was so drawn to him." What they are describing is the unconscious pull of the shadow. At the time, the attraction felt overwhelming, irresistible, even fated. But later, with distance, it becomes clear that the man was less important than the lesson he carried. He symbolized her own repressed strength, sexuality, independence, or rage. The attraction was a doorway to that hidden self. This is why female desire often appears paradoxical. On one hand, women may say they want stability, kindness, and dependability. Yet at another level, they may be deeply drawn to danger, mystery, and intensity. The contradiction is not hypocrisy, it is the dual nature of desire itself. Conscious desire seeks safety, unconscious desire seeks wholeness. And wholeness requires meeting the shadow. Women are drawn to men who embody their shadow because those men activate the lost or forbidden parts of their soul. The attraction is not logical because the unconscious does not operate on logic, it operates on symbols, archetypes, and instinct. The shadow is therefore not an enemy but a force of truth. It reveals the hidden map of what the psyche longs for, even when the conscious mind resists it. Female desire, when viewed through Jung's lens, becomes not a puzzle of contradictions but a story of the shadow seeking to come alive. And it is in this story that we find the most haunting, dangerous, and transformative expressions of attraction. Freud believed that at the heart of female psychology lies a paradox. Women are taught to repress their instincts while at the same time being judged by them. From childhood, society imposes rules about what is acceptable for a woman to feel, to show, and to desire. Unlike men, who have historically been encouraged to express sexuality in open, even aggressive ways, women were often told to be passive, modest, and controlled. This repression, Freud argued, doesn't erase desire, it buries it deeper, where it grows stronger, stranger, and harder to understand. Female desire, under repression, rarely appears in direct form. Instead, it slips out through detours, signals, and games. A woman may reject advances not because she lacks interest but because she has been trained to hide her longing behind layers of restraint. She might test a man, withdraw, or send mixed signals. Freud would say these are not signs of dishonesty but expressions of repressed instinct, desire forced into disguise. Like steam in a sealed container, what is repressed seeks new ways to escape, often in forms that appear irrational. The Victorian era, in which Freud lived, gave extreme examples of this repression. Women were diagnosed with hysteria when their unconscious desires erupted as physical symptoms, tremors, fainting, or uncontrollable emotions. What medicine at the time dismissed as illness, Freud interpreted as the body speaking the language of the unconscious. When desire is silenced, it does not disappear, it transforms into symptoms, dreams, or hidden behaviors. In modern times, this repression is less visible but still alive. A woman might smile when she wants to cry, flirt when she feels afraid, or reject a man when she deeply wants him, all because her desire has been trained to wear masks. Freud also believed that repression makes desire more powerful because the forbidden always tempts. A woman raised in a strict household may find herself irresistibly drawn to rebellion, precisely because she has been taught to avoid it. The men she chooses may embody everything she consciously rejects: risk, danger, or social disapproval. This is not hypocrisy, it is the unconscious at work. What is denied becomes magnetic. The repressed instinct exerts a pull that feels both dangerous and irresistible, creating patterns of attraction that are difficult to break. Another layer of repression is cultural silence. Female sexuality is often treated as mysterious or shameful, something not to be spoken of openly. This silence deepens the sense of taboo, and with it, the force of the unconscious. Desire becomes more symbolic than direct. It may attach itself to art, stories, fantasies, or forbidden relationships. The popularity of romantic novels, films, or fantasies about dangerous lovers reflects this hidden process. When society denies women a language for desire, the imagination becomes its stage. Freud's insight also explains why so many women struggle with ambivalence in relationships. They may want closeness but fear being judged for wanting it too openly. They may long for sexual freedom yet feel guilt when pursuing it. These contradictions are not personal flaws, they are the effects of repression. Desire splits into two levels: the conscious, which seeks approval and safety, and the unconscious, which seeks intensity and truth. The gap between these levels creates tension, confusion, and sometimes suffering. Repression also fuels projection. When women cannot admit to their own longing, they may see it in others instead. A woman who represses her anger might accuse a man of being aggressive. A woman who represses her passion might label another woman as wild or immoral. These judgments are not simply about others but about the denied parts of herself. In relationships, this projection can lead to misunderstandings, as hidden desire shapes expectations in ways neither partner fully understands. Freud's theories remain controversial, but they reveal something undeniable: repression is central to the way female desire operates in society. The more forbidden it is, the more powerful and unpredictable it becomes. Desire, when forced into hiding, does not lose its energy, it multiplies, bends, and emerges in symbols, symptoms, and paradoxical choices. What seems irrational in attraction often makes sense once repression is understood. It is not that women do not know what they want, it is that what they want has been silenced for so long it can only speak in whispers, masks, and shadows. Jung observed that men rarely see women as they are. Instead, they see women through the lens of their own unconscious, the anima projection. Every man carries within him an inner feminine, a psychic figure composed of images, ideals, and longings. When he meets a woman, he does not encounter her as an individual at first. He encounters the projection of his anima upon her. This explains why a man can fall madly in love with a woman he barely knows. It is not her he is falling for, but the reflection of his own hidden soul. The woman becomes a mirror for his unacknowledged depths, his repressed sensitivities, and his yearning for wholeness. Yet this projection is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can elevate love into something almost divine. Men write poetry, music, and myth out of this longing. They turn women into muses, angels, or goddesses. On the other hand, projection blinds them. No woman can ever fully embody the vastness of a man's anima, and so disappointment is inevitable. The pedestal eventually cracks, and the woman falls from goddess to human in his eyes. Jung warned that this cycle, idealization followed by disillusionment, was one of the central dramas of love. But women, too, carry projections. Jung suggested that within the female psyche lives the animus, the inner masculine. For women, this animus often takes the form of the hero, the guide, the man of vision and strength. Just as men project anima onto women, women project animus onto men. They seek in men the qualities they believe will complete them: courage, authority, wisdom, or power. This is why certain archetypes of men repeat themselves across culture and history: the warrior, the king, the outlaw, the prophet. Women are not only drawn to individual men but to what these figures symbolize deep within their psyche. This mutual projection creates a fascinating tension. Men seek women to embody their ideal feminine, while women seek men to embody their ideal masculine. Neither side is relating to the other as they truly are. Both are relating to inner archetypes externalized onto flesh and blood. This is why relationships are often filled with misunderstanding, disappointment, and conflict. A woman expects her partner to live up to the animus ideal of strength, vision, and security. A man expects his partner to live up to the anima ideal of beauty, purity, or inspiration. Both demand something larger than life, and both are confronted with the human limitations of the other. The cultural fascination with the bad boy archetype offers a vivid example. Many women consciously desire stability, kindness, and loyalty. Yet unconsciously, they may be drawn to danger, intensity, and rebellion. The bad boy embodies qualities of the animus that are raw and untamed: strength without restraint, freedom without responsibility, dominance without compromise. This archetype awakens deep instincts, often beyond rational control. He represents not just a man but a symbol of vitality, risk, and the untamed masculine. The attraction is not to his flaws but to the myth he carries. In him, the shadow animus comes alive, electrifying desire. Men, too, are haunted by their anima projections. They may be captivated by women who seem mysterious, unreachable, or otherworldly. The femme fatale in literature and film is an embodiment of this anima projection, both enchanting and destructive. She represents the man's longing for his inner depths but also the danger of being consumed by them. When a man is captivated by such a woman, he is really confronting his own unconscious, dressed in her image. His fascination reveals the power of projection. Desire is not only about the other but about the unseen parts of the self calling for recognition. This dance of projections creates both beauty and suffering. On one side, it fuels art, romance, and passion. On the other, it sets up impossible expectations. No man can be the perfect hero, and no woman can be the eternal goddess. Yet the psyche continues to cast these roles upon each other, because the deeper longing is not for another person but for inner wholeness. Desire becomes the stage on which these archetypal dramas play out, often without our awareness. Jung emphasized that until we recognize projection, we remain its prisoners. Men will keep chasing women who embody their anima, believing they have found the one, only to end in disillusionment. Women will keep chasing men who embody their animus, believing they have found the hero, only to discover his flaws. The cycle repeats, driven not by reality but by the unconscious. The projections are powerful because they carry the weight of myth. They are not about individuals but about eternal patterns embedded in the human soul. The fear arises because to truly see another person requires letting go of these projections. And that is terrifying. For men, it means confronting the anima within themselves rather than chasing it in women. For women, it means facing the animus within themselves rather than demanding men live it out. This confrontation strips away fantasy and demands vulnerability. To release projection is to risk seeing the other not as ideal or myth, but as human. Many resist this because the myth feels safer, more intoxicating, more meaningful. Reality feels smaller by comparison. Yet projection cannot be escaped so easily. Even when recognized, it lingers, coloring attraction and shaping desire. A man who dismisses fantasy may still feel captivated by a mysterious woman. A woman who understands her animus may still find herself magnetized by the outlaw or the hero. The archetypes are not illusions, they are part of the psyche itself. They do not vanish when we see them, they become conscious, integrated, and perhaps less destructive. It is in this tension, between myth and reality, projection and truth, that much of human desire unfolds. Women want men to embody their animus ideal, and men want women to embody their anima dream. But what they are really seeking lies within, in the forgotten figures of their own soul. And it is here that attraction reveals itself not as a surface choice but as an archetypal drama, repeating itself endlessly in the theater of the human heart. At the deepest level, the question of what women really want cannot be reduced to survival, status, or fleeting passion. Those are important layers, but beneath them lies something more enduring, the longing for wholeness. Jung believed that every relationship carries within it the possibility of individuation, the process by which two people mirror, challenge, and awaken each other's unconscious depths, moving them closer to completeness. For women, desire is often not just about finding security or excitement but about encountering a man who can hold her complexity, embrace her contradictions, and remain steady in the face of her shadow. This is why women so often test men, consciously or unconsciously. The tests are not always about manipulation but about revelation. They reveal whether a man can truly face her reality, not just the pleasant parts, but the storm, the mystery, the moods, and the hidden depths. A woman does not only want a man who protects her physically or provides materially, she wants a man who can stay present in her chaos without running, who can look into her shadow and not be destroyed by it. In Jung's terms, she wants a partner who does not merely project his anima onto her but integrates his own inner feminine enough to meet her as she truly is. Myths often illustrate this deeper desire. Consider the story of Psyche and Eros. Psyche cannot simply be given love, she must undergo trials, confront her fears, and descend into darkness before she can reunite with her beloved. The myth is symbolic of a profound truth: true desire is not satisfied with comfort alone, it demands transformation. Women long not just for affection but for growth, for a union that calls them to evolve beyond who they were. A man who only offers stability without depth cannot satisfy this longing, just as a man who only offers passion without reliability cannot either. What she wants is a union of opposites, security and intensity, strength and vulnerability, the earthly and the divine. This is why so many modern relationships struggle. Men may believe that women want only resources or status, while others assume they want only excitement or sexual chemistry. Both views are partial. In reality, women desire the man who can balance both worlds, the one who provides stability without becoming dull, and passion without becoming reckless. This paradox is not easy to embody, and few men can truly live it. But it is precisely this paradoxical wholeness that resonates with the deepest layers of feminine desire. Jung also pointed out that what women seek in men is often a reflection of their own path to individuation. A woman drawn to a man with vision and depth is really longing for those qualities to awaken in herself. The man serves as a mirror, a catalyst, and sometimes a guide. Yet this does not mean women merely project fantasies. It means that relationships serve as symbolic containers for growth. The partner is not the end point but the spark that ignites transformation. In this sense, what women really want is not a man in the superficial sense, but the journey he represents, the journey toward becoming whole. This explains why some women stay in relationships that challenge them more than they comfort them. It is not masochism, it is the unconscious pursuit of growth. If a man calls forth her hidden strength, even through conflict, he becomes part of her individuation. Desire, then, is not only about attraction but about initiation. The beloved becomes the one who awakens her dormant potential. From this perspective, female desire is not shallow or materialistic but profoundly spiritual. Ultimately, women want a man who can stand in the fire with them, who does not flinch at vulnerability, who does not collapse in the face of intensity, who does not retreat when confronted with the darker layers of the psyche. They want a partner who does not reduce love to comfort but embraces it as a path of transformation. And in this longing, what they seek is not simply another person but a reflection of their own hidden wholeness, waiting to be called into the light. The mystery of female desire is not solved by rules or tricks, but by courage, the courage to face what is hidden in the human psyche. Carl Jung believed that men and women are mirrors of each other's unconscious. To understand what women want is to understand what we ourselves repress, deny, and secretly crave. And perhaps the ultimate truth is this: women do not want perfection, they want depth. And in that search, they awaken the deepest parts of us all.